The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed here are not facts and are nothing more than entertainment. The views and opinions are not facts and do not represent the views and opinions of Xirtus or our channel, and do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of the guests, YouTube, Google, mainstream media, society, or civilization at large, or anybody. Viewer discretion is advised.
D turned side. Oh, okay, cool. For a second, D was sideways. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Ladies' Night. Oh, and she's muted. The sound went away. Can't hear you. Hello. How about Julia? Does your sound work?
I'm here.
That works. That's good. Hey everybody. Julia is with us from Recent Tartarians, amongst other things. Brittany as well. How you doing, Brittany? Brittany.
Hello. Hi.
That's working.
Cool. Is my mic? Is D working? Because we got to reset this if she's.
Yeah, D, go to your audio settings again. Make sure you're not muted. Settings, audio, mic, internal microphone.
We just had it. Oh.
In the meantime.
I like that too. There we go. Hello. Yeah, we still can't hear. Can you hear?
No, I can't hear.
Okay.
It worked like literally 30 seconds ago. What happened?
Now?
Oh, yes.
There he is.
Yay,
What's up?
hi.
Hallelujah.
Perfect.
How are you?
All right.
So this is kind of an interesting thing for some people. If you guys are on APM, you might know D. This is D. D from the Advanced Philosophy Memes. And it's funny because some people thought you were dead. And I was like, I don't think that's true. So
I want to know how I thought I was dead and how I died.
I think probably like, an explosion by a motel. I don't want to say what you were doing in there, though.
An assassination attempt.
Yeah.
No, you just disappeared. So we Google search some people that just search to see.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were dead though. I just made sure you were not reported as such.
Yeah. I had to disappear.
Well, so I mean, reality has shifted a lot in the last couple of years, and one of the things is like thinking about how the world's going to progress. APM, we've always talked a lot about different kinds of political ideologies, and some of the things that Michael Malice, a friend of mine who wrote that book that you've been reading, Anarchy Handbook, right, or Anarchist Handbook.
Yeah.
So you kind of go ahead.
He's good. No, he's great. He's his book, I guess, did the Anarchist Handbook. It sold, like it beat out like Obama and Oprah, that shit. So, I mean, it's a really good book, and he just has a lot of the different his own philosophies and other people's philosophies, like Emma Goldman and Stirner and a bunch more. So it's
yeah.
book.
It's interesting when you look at like American anarchy and some of like the projects for like utopian communities, right? Like Josiah Warren had kind of the prototypical anarchist, and like Mises Caucus did like a recent thing on Josiah Warren and how they were trying to fix a value to labor, really. And like this is the thing that kind of has circumvented the economy ever since. That's what started off removing the gold back. What do you replace the value with? Really, it's with the labor, the hours of labor of someone's life. So it's crazy because we live in a society where labor is just used to define the value of the resource of the state, which is the person. A person is a refinable resource like iron, to be educated.
Well, and Emma Goldman, I mean, she just kind of thought that success was the driving force that just turned everything, people just using people, for money to exploit them. That was really what really made, government bad, or centralized government bad, because it took advantage of people.
So, like, what's the solution then? Because you look at some of these New Harmony style communities.
That's a loaded question.
I mean, they all become so, like, Mises is really into libertarianism as a philosophy around anarchy, and you can kind of confuse anarchy, or one could confuse anarchy with communism because of this. You could have this idea of a community that keeps the hierarchy at bay through keeping the hierarchy filled up of a number of people, right? So you have a democratic dictatorship instead of a singular dictatorship, but then it's still that's just a form of.
Can I ask a question already?
Yeah.
So were you taught about like anarchy in school as part of like any of your history or your units of government or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, that was like Minnesota education.
We
Like anarchy
we weren't
wasn't
taught
a
nearly
word.
as much about anarchy
There
as we should
wasn't
have
like
been. But we were told about Spain. Spain was a particularly important, anarchy in Spain.
It's just always such a word that I don't know if I was reared against it. Like, ooh.
Well, even just kind of, what I've read about Emma Goldman is that, like, the stuff that she said, it is stuff that you could apply today still. Like, it's almost as if nothing, like, it was the same complaints, the same issues that she was voicing against, or what she was angry about. It's like the same complaints about government, the same complaints about, the workforce, are the same arguments that you still hear today. So it's like we just don't progress at all.
It's funny. Literally, Michael Malice uses these tweets sometimes. If I can't dance to it, it's not my revolution.
Yeah. He's good. Do you ever talk to him about?
Yeah, actually, I don't know how much I should say, but he has like a pretty deep understanding of philosophy and has like some pretty amazing books. I'll say that. He definitely studies like the classics and is quite aware. But his interest in anarchy is kind of confusing because you never know whether anarchy means ANCAP or ANCOM. And that's kind of my point. Like, it could easily be like Jeff Bezos anarchy, where there's no one above me, so I can go as high as I want. Elon Musk, I want to have no government over me in Mars. I want to be in charge. Versus ANCOM, which is, I think people often utopianize, or they have an optimistic kind of romanticized view that it would all work out like Lockean philosophy. And it just seems crazy.
That like Michael Malice, he's like, it's not gonna be a utopia. Like, utopia. So it's just kind of like he tries to apply like the concept of anarchy, or the philosophy of anarchy. Like, he's really good at explaining like how it could kind of be implemented now, but I think he is an anarcho-capitalist. It just kind of seems like, but he's got really good ideas. But I think that you can at any time, you can just refuse to let anyone speak for you. You can refuse to live by somebody else's rules or laws anytime. And what we're doing right now is like, we don't really, like, what we're doing right now, we're voluntarily, interacting, collaborating, and, that this is what anarchy would be like, or is. It's what it is. Like, we don't need the law involved. We don't need the government involved to collaborate, to join together.
Right. It seems like law is kind of the direct opposition to trade and like free trade of ideas. And,
I was going to say there seems to be like similarities with what you're saying with sovereignty and anarchy, which is interesting because getting back to being sovereign sounds a lot like.
We're back.
Pretty's puppy.
Yeah, the puppy just came and got me. But anyway, to stay focused, it was almost like you were saying things about some of the highlighted points that those that are fighting for sovereignty are discussing.
Yeah, it's
So
some
sovereignty
curiosity
is
about
almost
that.
like anarchy,
Right.
I
Well,
guess,
in
right?
anarchy, you don't acknowledge a hierarchy above you, and so sovereignty is like one of the first steps.
To becoming,
You
to
need to be at
going
least
full out
so for the problem with
anarchist.
anarchy is so many people don't have sovereignty. So many people aren't even free persons. To be a free legal person,
So there's no anarchists.
well, there
unless
are,
they're
but like
declared
so
sovereign.
right now, an anarchist is somebody who like owns an island, like Elon Musk or
We
like
could own an
Leonardo
island though.
DiCaprio.
If you just
Someone
have
who
to
has a
label
boat,
it first.
you know.
Like they run like an anarchy. Like they get away with, and that's like a bad anarchy. Like that's the one that there's chaos. They get away with chaos. They get away with creating chaos. They get away with it.
And then control the laws that
have-
keep us from being able to have freedoms to do the things that that they have to be able to do to keep a system that doesn't work afloat.
So if Mike O'Malley then would just take over the Libertarian Party, would the first steps that he'd take with his party becoming sovereign? Would he just everybody become
he
sovereign?
seems to be
or
against
what?
police. He wants to not have police.
But to declare sovereignty, there's the steps you take. There's all these videos on it. I'm just wondering, we should have him on.
Yeah,
I wonder if he'd come on and talk about some of his key
I'm sure
points.
if we invited him to the ladies'
because he did.
night,
I did hear him say he was
kind of
taking
thing.
over the Libertarian Party when I was, which doesn't exist on when you vote for.
Right.
Is that like a party in some states? Does it say Libertarian?
I mean, I don't think it says it
if
anywhere.
you ran
Does it say
in
it
Minnesota,
New Hampshire yet? I think it might.
Andreas, like let's say you ran for the Libertarian.
I think New Hampshire is the
representative.
state with the closest representation for the Libertarian Party, and they've been trying to turn New Hampshire into a Libertarian Party.
But then
state,
why do we have
which anarchists often like are aligned with Mises Caucus?
What is it? We have the Legalized Marijuana Now Party and the Cannabis Now Party. Then we have what's it?
Well, so
what does it say?
a
on
lot
when
of
people
these
go
parties are more like coalitions, and they work with other parties.
But
on
you still
issues.
get to have like the red and the blue, and then these two.
We only have the red and
weed
the blue
parties
because
and
they're the
no-
two parties that have, we've become a bipartisan system where you represent red or blue, because those are the two kinds of congressmen that you see. And if you see a 5% vote towards any other party, it will immediately get the same funding as the other two parties.
Okay.
And if you elect so for a long time they want to get Ralph Nader, into Senate, right? Like the idea of getting green parties into Senate was a big thing, so that you could have a tripartisan system. But multi-partisan is what they do in New Zealand, and that way they break up all the parties.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily.
I was just wondering how you got on the actual voting slip.
Well, so to get on the
Because
voting
we
slip,
have
you have
4
to be right now basically
Minnesota.
part of one of the major parties that's received funding. And
Okay,
then they
so
have their own
that's what I
systems.
thought you're saying.
They're private groups.
You have no. There's really at the very end we have like two choices. That's not really
Right.
It's
And
just
at the
weird that
but even
the
at the beginning,
Libertarian.
because these choices, like the Democratic Party doesn't use, it's not based on how many votes it counts to get the majority of who's going to be the candidate for the Democratic Party. The Republican Party, similarly, I mean, it does rely on votes eventually, but for the beginning primaries, often, like they're selected by the party itself.
I think you can run as just like an individual, can't you? I don't.
You could, but then someone would have to write your name in.
But you couldn't write Libertarian.
Show up on a box. And then the thing is, it's all about the Electoral College. The Electoral College is selecting. The congressmen have a certain amount of votes per state that they get to put towards the Electoral College, and they get to just do whatever they want. There's no law that says they have to select it based on their constituents, their votes. It's maybe implied.
And the blue party gets to claim the farmers as well, right?
Well, so this is like I've been
It's
thinking
very-
about
it's
the
very
polls
weird to
flip.
go vote.
People talk about how the polls flip every 10,000 years. I think it's quicker if you think about the like political polls. You have the Democrats and the Republicans. The blue party and the red party switched. No,
I'm just talking
now.
about when you go to vote, what it says on your ballot is the farmers union, and that's the blue, and that's like your Democrats. They get to claim farmers. Then there's the red party, which is what I don't even know what it says, laborers, which is I don't know it doesn't say that, but then it has the Cannabis Now and Legalized Marijuana. So you think one of those two groups could be approached by a Libertarian Party to try and head it up and collaborate or something, just because that just seems like bizarre head points.
And
for
so
my
this
state.
is like in New Zealand, you'll get like 6 parties will work together to put one candidate out, right, as their head. this happens all the time.
So yeah, I guess it's the Libertarian Party can't come up with as much money as the marijuana parties. I don't know, but I can't just go run. I'd have to have 5% of.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. So that's why the Mises Caucus and the Libertarians in New Hampshire are trying to escalate 5% of the vote towards Libertarians in the United States, so that there'd be a third party on the ballot, which really still wouldn't do as much as people think, except for maybe congressmen might change. But we live in a system where congressmen vote for the people that they know, so it's going to be, for a long time coming, Democrats and Republicans, because they're friends, they're all in those groups. The only way it's going to change is if the Democrats and Republicans somehow stumble hard enough that they need to move that energy into another party. It would just be the same people all of a sudden. And this is what happened to the Republican Party. Originally, it used to be called the Anti-Mason Party, along with the Republican Party, and even the new Whig Party joined together. And they said, okay, let's put the winning candidate, Abraham Lincoln, on the ballot and they lost the anti-Masons into the Republican Party. I mean, clearly with the name, but that's how all these parties went.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was different by states either. Like my state, obviously, in California, I don't know what it looks like on your ballot. So yeah, every state's different when we go to vote for our representatives.
Does everybody here vote?
I vote with my dollar, I like to say. I think everyone votes with their dollar every day.
Okay. Yeah.
I voted this year, but just because I wanted to. I'm always investigating. So I'm like investigating. How is voting going? How are they doing it here?
Yeah, it was interesting looking at Carrie Lake. So like pretty close to the, campaign in Arizona, and watching and luckily she put like $1 million or something like that into just anticipatory election fraud investigation. And it was just say again.
Nothing. No. Nefarious. That was good.
But she found out. I mean, it was weird because Katie Hobbs is running and counting her own votes, and so when you know it, after counting her own votes, she won, and her opponent lost. But then the opponent who's doing the investigation found all this evidence. Not just that, all the people sending in calls being like, hey, my district, I went in to vote. They told me to go somewhere else. They handed me a paper ballot. They said to go over here. They said the machines are broken. About 10 minutes in the day, they were just shut down in all these counties, so no one could vote in these major districts for Republicans so that Carrie Lake would lose. I mean, it's just 1950s. Everywhere is the same. They're always doing this. And especially in the Midwest, it seems like more obvious, but I don't know if that's true. Like even in Virginia and Maryland, right? Like I knew people working in the election, and they, wanted to believe everything was okay because they were on the other side, but it was pretty obvious like what was going on.
Can we say that yet? I don't know. You're saying don't vote. It's too so.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying like, well, maybe.
Then you can't complain about things. That was always what
that's George Carlin's thing. I think the problem is that by voting with your vote, you're often
you're allowed to complain anytime that you want.
Right.
Not if you don't vote.
No, I don't think it's true. I think you can complain anytime you want. That's the point. Voting, by the time you get to the point where they've shuttled you into the shower, like you've already voted.
Wait, vote doesn't really count though.
Yeah, but you're basically signing a consent form to not have your vote count when you vote, because you're saying, I know what I believe, but I'm going to disregard that and just with a lottery system try to figure out what everyone else wants. But that is not.
But I guess, but if you lean more towards the anarchism side of the spectrum, wherever that is, it's against your belief to do it, because it perpetuates the system.
And you can't take your vote back. I found that out once I voted.
Right. And democracy
is
a dictatorship where the majority oppresses the minority. So you could either have a minority dictatorship where you vote for a king, or you could have a bunch of kings that vote for a mob. And that's kind of what we're at now with democracy. So you're voting. It's like you're in prison and you've got a prison guard, and someone says, hey, we all voted to rape this guy, and it was 99-1. 100 votes, and so the majority wins. And so that's the problem with democracy fundamentally, is it doesn't respect self-determination, and it doesn't just respect the actual sovereignty of the individual. And the second flaw, because there's so many, is that democracy is designed to decide this or that, as opposed to what is the correct answer, which is like never one person or the other person's bill. It's usually you have to get the ideas together to figure out how we can get as many things accomplished with one thing as possible. And you wouldn't do that by getting a vote between two things, by people that are misinformed, which is the third problem with democracy. Is it's this debilitating problem that we use emotionally charged voters without correct information. It's not that they're without information. That would be easier. We're dealing with people with tons of misinformation, and they're voting not based on information, they're based on feeling. So everything about democracy is a freaking nightmare. And it's especially a nightmare if you want to have any individual rights.
Oh, you're in jail for saying that.
I mean, I forget. I think UN Human Rights Declaration Article 19 says I have the right to have opinion still. So I don't know. As long as that's still there, we'll see how that goes.
It's gone now.
But yeah, what would we do? What would we replace it with? So in an anarchist system, how would we be able to make decisions? You know, does community exist? What side of the road do we drive on?
Community would definitely have to exist. You know, I mean,
Cyrus Teed.
I don't know how to do it, and the way that I envision it, I can only speak for myself. I couldn't, you know, that would be the way that I would want it. But I can't, that's part of anarchism too. You don't speak for other people either. And so, you know, my idea isn't going to, it can't speak for anyone else. So,
Are you a peaceful anarchist?
Create like a whole, I mean, if you like, Michael Malice has really good points on, you know, you could, instead of the police, then you would have security and all of that. But I also believe that you should be able to just like defend yourself.
Yeah, we need to get back to shoguns. That's the problem with Malice's whole argument, in my opinion, is because you look at Vegas, right? Like, so you leave New York, you're tired of the beat cops, I get it, but then you get to Vegas and, you know, you're free. But you're free in the sense that you're inside of like an ANCAP oligarchs, you know, prison kingdom, and they've got their own security and they have their own laws. And this is, you know, proven to be more effective. Like you go to any Mexican cartel town and they don't have traffic and they don't have crime because it's not allowed. You know, the cartels do not allow it. And so it's a lot safer to live in parts of Mexico than like, let's say like Santa Monica or something. And you think that would be the opposite, right? But the same can be said for creating a society where security guards are working, you know, for a corporation. Google might be really good at cracking down on corruption inside of Google, right? Or Twitter, because they're looking into everything and they have their own private police. But then when it comes to how much the company does wrong,
right,
there's nothing outside of that.
Are you agreeing then with?
I'm just objectively saying
that we should be able to defend ourselves, because I don't want to live in a place where there's not somebody bigger to help me if somebody bigger than me is going to attack me and like my kids. Like if I am really good at using a gun, there's probably somebody that's better than me at using a gun. And in my village, I want to find like my friend Jake, who's like in the military, is a really good sharpshooter. Like I would like to have him defend me.
Important, I think, too.
Against myself.
Oh, you defend your own. A community is really important.
A community, you're saying, not the individual, or like you're going to have a community defense of volunteers?
A cul-de-sac and neighborhood tribe.
But I think there would be more sense of community if, like, under, you know, in anarchism, because people would want to be able to defend themselves and each other from something bigger. And, you know, that's also, you know, it's the whole, you know, right and wrong, good and bad, and, you know, good versus evil, you know, debate. But I think that when you have people, it's kind of like your family, you know, you always back each other up. You always are there for one another, and you're there to protect one another. And you know, more, you know, if your whole family is there to defend you, then there's probably going to be less people who are out to get you.
Appalachians kind of seems like that. You've got a bunch of Celtic Scot Highlanders that ended up in the Appalachians, and they still keep their communities. They don't pay taxes. They don't follow the police, rules. They're in charge of themselves, and they're kind of respected and autonomous.
Mm-hmm. And so are the Quakers, and they're pacifists. And that it all revolves, mostly around community and how important it is. And we're peaceful, but I'm pretty sure they would, as pacifists, that you wouldn't, raise a gun to somebody's face when you're defending yourself. Yeah, you would. You would have to.
What's the definition of anarchy? Because then all these original utopian communities from the 1800s and 1820s, anybody that's trying to live outside of government
without hierarchy,
rule,
absent,
hierarchy.
And and then archy.
Also, the
hierarchy.
Are the Amish aren't anarchists?
The Amish are not anarchists.
But
no,
the Native Americans, are they?
Quakers are pretty close to anarchists. Quakers don't believe in the Presbyterian Episcopos, so the idea of the elders. They don't believe in elders, and they have a group of basically they'll sit together, and then one will stand up and start talking, and then they'll sit down, and another will stand up and talk. But they don't have a minister at the center of the room that they'll look at.
Mm-hmm.
And they have super fly hats, and they make really good crack oatmeal,
Oh boy!
And they have cookies, dude.
Yes.
Better than the Eucharist.
Okay. So, is there any other? If you're sovereign or you have different law, which the Native Americans do, then they are anarchists by definition.
Who are
Native American tribes?
No,
that are under different law.
No. Okay, so
sovereign.
Anarchy is complicated as
That's
heck.
what I wanted to ask.
So first off, let's look at international political science. International political science, anarchy. So in an international political scientific term, all states are not believing in a United Nations above them, technically. So
if you're
every
not part
state,
of the UN, you're anarchist.
Well, even if you are part of the UN, because you don't really give the UN that much power. But if you do, then that's the end of anarchy, right? But anarchy is the idea of any state that doesn't have a state above it, doesn't have an international state above it. So United States or England, they're not technically underneath a bigger thing. So that's technically called anarchy in international relations. Now, what neoconservatives are, let's do this.
So your parents are anarchists in your home. How does that go?
Wait, ask that again.
In your home, your parents would be like the anarchists. There's nobody above them in your house. You can take the term
they're the sovereigns.
Break it down.
They're the sovereigns in the house. So here's how this works. So in an anarchy, Marxists believe, and so neo-Marxists would also include CIA or neoconservatives or anybody who studied Marxism too long. The idea that you build a state. The state is a sovereignty in and of itself. Whoever rises to the top of that state is the de facto hierarchy, right? And that's a transient. So you still believe that it can be replaced. You have no preconceived ideas about your permanency. Your government is 4 years to 8 years at a time. So technically, you're respecting anarchy in that sense. But you've been put into the de facto position of authority over those who the state runs who are not sovereign. And there are a lot of people in a state that are not sovereign. So you look at, for instance, people in a Vegas casino working there, right? A lot of those people have a social contract. They're supposed to, maybe they work at Facebook instead. They're not allowed to go on certain websites. All these social contracts are for people that are not fully sovereign. And then someone is in charge of that to keep the state working. So then you've got this idea of international political science of anarchy being each state individually, just a map, an atlas, each state individually exists in an anarchist sea, right? The sea itself is anarchy. And then from that, every vessel is a sovereign. So any ship is a citizenship, and any personhood is a legal personhood.
Maritime law which is
That's
open
the
seas,
that's
is
the
like the
idea of,
anarchist.
that's living in
dream.
full anarchy, right?
Okay.
And so it's confusing
So
because
every time we go on a boat, she'd be like, "This is anarchy."
well, you know, on a boat, a captain can kill people. Like on a boat, a captain is in charge. He can marry people.
Unless
he
there's
can
a party.
judge, jury, and executioner, right? He can do whatever they want. And at the same time, they're starting.
I want to run a boat. That'd be great.
But there are, if you're in the coastal lands, then you know the Sea Patrol, what are they called? Coast Guard will show up also. So there are territories where you're above their lands, and they'll protect them as well. So anarchy really quickly folds into de facto hierarchies, and then they'll often work together to maintain their status quo.
Yeah, it's at least voluntary at that point. You know, they're not forced into the obeying or acknowledging a hierarchy. They're voluntarily acknowledging it.
That is true. It's different than a state, because a state, you're stuck in a state. A state is the legitimate source of violence.
Okay. So anarchy, that's across the board. So how does this work in education? Because we are so ingrained. Like, again, I was talking about my parents. They're the bosses of my household. Does that still stand in an anarchist society? Or are your children equal to your parents? Everybody's equal. So, like, how does it work for doctors? And like, I don't want to ever be a surgeon and stuff like that. Is that all different? I'm just saying.
I mean, so licenses,
if no one's above everybody,
licenses wouldn't be state run if there's no state.
Right.
So anything like a doctor, anyone could be a doctor. Anyone could go to the street corner and sell gasoline.
I would think a doctor's above me. If I'm a teacher and there's a doctor, I'd be like,
right. And see, that's part of your
program.
That's part of your conditioning from Episcopos.
So how are we going to teach kids that a dump truck driver is as valuable as a brain surgeon?
Well, let's start with the history of Episcopoi. So the Episcopoi were the inspectors, sometimes sent by the Athenians to subject states.
Sorry.
Harpocration compares them to the Lacedaemonian demonian Harmus, and say they were also called Philax, guardians. It appears in the Episcopoi received a salary at the cost of the cities over which they presided. The term was used in early Christianity to refer to overseers of the local church. So this is a big thing with the idea of shepherds or overseers, or in having godly divine respect for them, right? Because they went to a Jesuit school, and so they're a doctor. You know, they have a doctorate.
Correct. I'm just talking about America, and don't just to like rescind almost what I said. I think that our garbage disposal systems and dump truck drivers are to be respected more than most of the doctors or many of the doctors. So I didn't mean that to be derogatory in any way.
Today, you know, that's where people like Julia.
Yeah, we need holistic
Yeah.
educators and stuff, nutritionists and
Yeah.
correct.
People.
So I'm just saying to re-educate society would be difficult. It would have to start in small communities unless
And that's what Michael Malice was even mentioning, that he expects that there will be breakaway communities.
we did that a special on those. It's nuts.
Yeah, and it's gonna catch on probably more and more in the next 100 years, that you're gonna see it a lot more often, and see how it can work.
Some of the bigwigs, though, they had their own utopian communities. There's like Ford. If you're looking back into,
well, let's go before we get to the new harmony. Let's start with the old harmony. Yeah, let's go to the 1500s before we get to this.
Ooh, did you find some?
No, just start. Hold on. Okay. So first thing is you look at the witch things, because like witch trials and everything. It's not just to get rid of. I mean, first off, bloodletting and the rise in human studies of what's it called, of cadavering. They were doing all sorts of autopsy work, and so this is a huge reason they said stop burning witches, just start killing the witches so that we can do autopsies and we can use the body parts in cadavering. And the other thing is that these women were often doctors in that sense, like Dee was just saying, like Julia, people that are studying medicine, studying health, studying these different things, and also millions of years of evolution or whatever that means. The generations of women that have this is how we stay alive. This is how we give birth and stay alive doing it. This is how we keep the family going. This is how we keep the child growing, you know, all these kinds of things. And these rhymes and these weird number charts, right? Like they found these Solomonic squares with numbers that they would draw in ceramic so they would help a woman not have a miscarriage, you know, all these, and they work. And this is something that the Egyptians, the Russians, the British, they were all using it up until the 1600s.
Draw numbers on a square and lay it somewhere, or put with a crystal.
You make it on a piece of ceramic, and then you pour water on it, and then you smash
water
the vase.
And ceramic.
You make sure that you don't pour water into the vase. Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of the physiological impact.
I don't think maybe. I think it's really magic. But the point is that they had all these kinds of things that they were doing, and then they got rid of them, and they replaced them with the presbyters, which were based on the Episcopoi, and the presbyters, like Presbyterian and Episcopal. You've heard of these kinds of churches, the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church. Presbyters were the elders or the seniors, and they were these kinds of, you know, above you characters, and they were the ones that they wanted to try, you know, putting the hand of female medicine into and make only men practice medicine from this point on. And that's a big transition that happens, because before that it's basically all, you know, women are studying herbology, they're making all the beer, they're doing all the brewing, witches brew, and then after that it's like alcohol's bad unless it's wine from the church, and you got to do this, and men have to do that. But okay, so that was in order to get us to, you know, because that's, you can see the Episcopoi were those communities, those church-like communities. And they said, let's just do that again. Because in the Middle Ages, we had a lot of fun with monks controlling these communities. We have Trappist monks. They make beer. We control it. Let's do that again. And so these New Harmony communities, they're very similar.
Not all New Harmony. There's so many different ones.
Well, planned utopian communities in the United States were very similar to the abbot, you know, sort of the monastery lifestyle. That was kind of the goal. And they're like, hey, you do this amount of labor, and there's this amount of labor that has to be done. Often in the monasteries, there's a certain amount of labor that you had to do, and also you had to pay to live there. So you had to do a certain amount of hours worth of labor that they considered worth a certain amount of galleons. You know, this is similar in a lot of ways.
Did they have like rich people though that would just start a new community and then pay everybody to do everything? And
I mean, so it's like Hosea Warren, which is we were mentioning earlier, was the anarchist who started out as a very wealthy musician. And he, you know, as a teenager, he played in bands with big bands and things. He's very famous as a musician, and he also became an inventor.
Looks like a furry man.
That's not very nice.
No, isn't that? That's like a thing. There's furry people in history.
Well,
I don't know.
He has great mutton chops. That was the look back then. Think about how much effort he put into growing those mutton chops. Like that took like a lifetime.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, American anarchist who never called himself an anarchist. He just was an anarchist, and he published the Peaceful Revolutionist 4-page weekly, and he invented what did he invent again? He was a polymath.
What year is this? Because we have like the Flaming Sword publication. From
Invented the first rotary press, right? So pretty useful. I don't know if it was the first, but
anarchists.
Say it again.
Were Tartarians anarchists?
To an extent. I mean, obviously they seem like, if you look again with the idea of city-states, anarchist city-states, there would still have the same circumstance where people, well, you could use this picture too, people rise to the top. That's the problem in any circumstance. So yes, you had a bunch of these sovereigns, but also you had, you know, multiple states existing simultaneously because of that. Because if you have global international corporations replace it, then you're going to have them occupying the same territory. And that became complicated at the maritime city states. So anywhere that they have a port, that's a place where they would have trade between the land power and the sea power, until eventually the sea power took over the port cities. And it's like the Opium Wars.
What's that etymology on the word, by the way?
Which one?
Anarchy.
Without hierarchy, without archy.
I thought that was the political science definition.
The
international political science.
No, the international political science definition is just a bit more. It has to do with the state being anarchist rather than a person.
What is it first used in, like, when is it first used in text?
My dad
I
referred to
guess.
himself as an anarchist in high school in the 60s.
I think that
it was a thing that in the 1539 it says first used absence of
Okay.
government by Pierre Joseph Proudhon.
Pierre Anarchy.
His
Just
treaty,
kidding.
What is
It's
Property?
usually their name. Okay, interesting. Nobody knows the like name of the guy responsible for anarchism. I don't. Never heard of that. Proudhon.
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 Yeah.
Proudhon. He looks like a Proudhon.
Proudhon described the liberty he pursued as the synthesis of communism and property. Some consider his mutualism to be part of an individualist anarchism, while others regard it to be part of social anarchism.
Okay. So we have all the branches of different types of anarchy.
So social anarchism, referred to as red anarchism, is the branch of anarchism which sees individual freedom as interrelated with mutual aid, right? So you have to help people. Individualist anarchism is the branch of anarchy that emphasizes the individual and their will over external determinants such as groups, society, traditions, and ideological systems. Although usually contrasted to social anarchism, both individualist and social anarchism have influenced each other. Mutualism, an economic theory, particularly influential within individualist anarchism, who pursued liberty, has been called the synthesis of communism and property. So mutualism
is that like Ayn Rand? Is she
mutualism is Pierre.
Isn't she individual anarchist? Individualism.
Yeah, she's an ANCAP.
She seems like that would be like totally her.
She's beyond individual
but
anarchist.
We never got to like this
she's
is not a part of
anarchist.
Did you learn about Ayn Rand in like your literature classes and stuff?
Yeah.
See, that's not, you don't understand. Like the Midwest,
I mean, I wasn't like
not a part
AP
of any type
English
of,
though. I don't think every kid.
No, I took AP English and AP History. It's not
we had
like
to read
we
Les
talk
Miserables
about
and stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's not the same.
Les Miserables pretty important.
It was like
tells you all
things
about
they
the
didn't talk
French
about
Revolution.
were communism. They didn't talk about like nothing with Mao. They didn't talk about anarchy.
They tried to.
It was
like,
so.
I had one teacher who wanted to talk about Mao because most of all my teachers were communists, and most of them weren't really into Mao, and one of them was, and he thought, and I think it was mainly because Maoism is non-Eurocentric, and that's the interest. But Eurocentricity is a major flaw of our educational system because it makes sure that we focus on everything from the perspective.
Yeah, I mean, literature and everything is based. A lot of it is World War II. Just that's the novels that we have to read, and
I didn't get a lot. Actually, we almost didn't get to World War II. As far as I feel like we didn't ever discuss World War II. We really discussed everything up to it. A lot of stuff up to World War II.
I think a lot of it's in studying textbooks depends on where you're from because each state is allowed to teach their students different things, and so California and Texas are different. And
what state were you from again?
I'm originally from Oklahoma.
And did you get anything in your education about this stuff? About anarchy, about communism? What did you learn?
No, definitely no.
No. Yeah.
This was when I went to school in Ohio, and that was a pretty liberal school, and that's probably the closest. But still, I wouldn't say that we even really discussed anarchy, though.
Texas will teach against it, or maybe not even bring it up. I don't know. California will teach about.
Well, I don't know. So, Julia, you're in Southern California. Did you have a similar? Did you learn about these things in school, or what was your schooling like?
No, I didn't talk about any of that.
Yeah, I feel like they hide this stuff.
Yeah. Well, even just anarchy in general, like the word, they will use it more in literature as like,
yes,
as a bad.
It's like my girlfriend had the Anarchy cookbook, and I was like, "What is this? What?" But I feel like I benefit more from like grimoires of like how to, like monatomic gold and alchemy and how to battle demons and tell them where to go and how to send them.
Right. I think it is kind of a superhero question too, though. If we get to the point where we're all magical beings, like who stops who and like how do
I know you start when you get to a point where you realize why certain things are guarded and you're like, oh, okay, like I get why this tech is guarded and we're not ready. Like where we're at developmentally is like, can you imagine everyone with that power right now?
Where we're at right now as a society, it's almost like we don't deserve anarchy. Like it's too good for us. Like we would just create.
Remember we were talking about this the other night. And we were talking about. I'm like, well, what are the levels? Like with, it seems like like demons, there's legions of demons and it's organized. Like if there's spiritual levels and there's, you know, a hierarchy there, then
Are
it's
they in
gonna
anarchy?
exist.
Interesting point. Like hell are demons and devil and hell, and they
Angels
don't seem like an anarchy. It
can't
seems like they
be.
have a
They
hierarchy
believe
where the devil is above
God
them or
rules
something.
the angels.
hierarchy, but it's not necessarily. It's like more of like just being against like a centralized, you know, hierarchy that speaks for everyone, makes laws for everyone, and then enforces those laws with the potential of violence is why it's, you know.
But that's why it's like, what are the rules? Like, you know, like our higher power, there's clearly like cosmic rules, you know, or cosmic laws of,
Well,
and
I think it's like one rule, and people would say, well, that's just a, you know, that's just a biblical, you know, it's basically it's do unto others, that whole golden rule thing. And if we could just do that.
But it becomes do what thou will, do what thou wilt, doesn't it? I mean,
I always say if like the government, like if people have a problem with government, like, well, how are you governing yourself? And I've noticed that people with the biggest issues with government, you examine how they're living and governing their lives, and it's pretty toxic. Like,
well, I don't know.
It's an interesting point. Sorry, go ahead, D.
He seems really, you know, like he's got really good ideas, and he's logical, and you know, he's unemotional about the whole thing. It's just to him it's logical. And
New York is kind of an anarchy. Like you get a building and it's owned by a guy, and then people live in the building and they pay to be a part of it. They might pay $100,000 to own their like room in it. And there's a guy who like watches the building, and there's a person who does the maintenance, and like they have their own feudal enclave, you know, and there's a bunch of them, and they all sort of coexist with each other. And that can work to an extent. The question becomes what happens to the people, like if they decide, you know, New York's had these problems where there's like rent control, or someone wants to build a new building and they can't because people are living there. So they just terrorize the people living in the building until they move out, or they destroy their property so they have no water there until they can rebuild the building. And so it's hard because if there's no checks and balances over, again, with the casino thing.
You couldn't have like sports teams with anarchy either, because like because the coach is in charge of the team.
What? Huh?
You wouldn't be able to have a coach of sports teams.
The coach, you could still have a coach, but the coach can tell you what to do.
There's no way.
I mean, so like the thing is, any state
you have to be self-coached, self-motivated, and there's no one there to teach you the skills, because you don't need to listen to them because they are not superior to you, even though they studied all the sports.
I got a better wave.
Track
kidding.
and sports. You know, people running. You have the Olympics.
I love running. I love
the Olympics is very anarchist. I think that's a good way to look at it, because each state brings their champion.
Yeah, but they all have a coach. But they can't be. It's like
you choose to have a coach if you're going to be in the Olympics. You can still choose to have a coach.
Okay, so you could be an anarchist community
with a trainer.
And you could be parents that got together that said, "Hey, this lady's pretty good at volleyball, and we want all our kids to play volleyball. Let's have her coach the team."
You could quit at any time. You could quit.
You can always quit at any time.
What is an anarchist like spiritual belief? Like, do they don't believe in a?
So if you can quit at any time,
it's you know, you can be spiritual, or you can be religious, and or have no religion.
It's always an opt-in. So if you have to
it's kind of like forced religion, kind of like, you know, because religion tries to oppress people.
I just feel like we're wired, like our human brains are wired to take like a you know, direction from a higher power, and then it's
Isn't the hierarchy then that there's a ultra hierarchy? You believe in only God, and you don't believe in anyone between you and God, or something.
I am that I am.
I think spiritual, or I think some sort of spirituality would help in a anarchist society, but you can't force that on anyone. So
we can't force that anywhere. I mean, we have separation of church and state here. We can't even use the word God in schools. So
I do think that there's a question here, though. Like, do what thou wilt versus do what you think is right and stop what you think is bad from happening. I mean, those are the ideological differences make it hard to have an anarchy, because you don't have everyone moving from the same
But you
goal.
find those values and get in a community that is sustainable within what your values are as an anarchist. I would think that's.
But then you're right next. So like, let's say you're in one country and you share a river on the other side. You know, so there's shit's flowing through your creek.
Ooh. Then you got to start a military, but it's volunteer only. I mean, this is exactly how it all started from point A.
It does seem like authoritarianism just works easier. You know, you're just like, hey, everybody, you're gonna all have to be part of the military.
But it voted for authoritarian group of people, which is
so I get it.
And
you
informed,
just train
equally.
people to think
It
that they're
works
free.
out. The
That's
best,
democracy.
the majority will follow that. Yeah.
Make them think they're free and make them think
Where-
it's cool to do it. Just own MTV and you don't need to stay.
Make their own decisions because the law's already decided for them. There's less to think about.
And then do you start all over with laws? Like,
Yeah,
and I can say you just go as fast as you want. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
to follow laws, that
Man.
were created long before I did, which is another. You're entering into this contract of accepting laws for what it, for
True.
for the law that you had no say so in.
True. As soon as you're born, though, that's our parents' fault, not the government, because they
Exactly.
just
Their
get signed over.
fault and their parents' fault for.
Their parents' fault. But the answer is, yeah, it's just like people have been trained to be taken care of, and that our military has fought for us so we can be free and taken care of by the government that we vote to take care of us and all that. So it's going to be.
We
It's
could
gonna
be
be-
more free, in other words, because we're not really free in many ways.
Some decisions I don't want to make. So if I may live, I'm all for this anarchist and sovereign life,
I
but
bet you are.
I don't.
Less taxes.
I don't want to decide on certain things. Do I have to? Or there's some anarchist communities where I have to vote for certain things, and there'll be some anarchist communities where I can refute my vote.
See, but like everything starts out thinking they're anarchists. I think the Amish really thought that they weren't going to go with the flow. They're going to be their own thing. And now it is, decidedly it's an Anabaptist cult where strict hierarchy is enforced by older male members elected as judges to hand down punishments to youth who don't conform with their extremely traditional lifestyle. This is kind of what
Amish have
happens to
separate-
any anarchy I've ever heard of, right? Like they
Wow.
become, someone tries to enforce the good thing they've had going.
They get like radical.
And so I don't know how long it can last
Scientology.
unless, the best way anarchy lasts is just order out of chaos, where it's just constantly, you just burn the government and replace it every generation before anyone, like a squid, it dies in 18 months before it can learn anything. Humanity resetting.
Just keep burning it down.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, but so the alternative is that we try to work together to build an anarchy, and it looks like that's
Let's relabel it. Can we just start something new?
free trade.
Like
You could just call it free
exergy?
trade. Free
An
trade
exergy.
requires two mutually agreeing, equal, sovereign partners. So for there to be a free trade, you would need an anarchy. So if you say we just want to build free trade, that seems like a
I
way to
just feel
say
like that word's gotten poo-pooed in the past. So it's
everything.
gonna be hard
has- yeah.
to get everybody to jump on board. But if I get on a boat, I'm gonna just be like, I'm an anarchist. I like it.
Then you're also a dictator of your boat, unless you have a captain over you. But D, what'd you say?
I forgot.
What? Then you can't be an anarchist if there's a dictator on.
Right. That's the
Fuck.
That's the thing with
You
anarchy.
can only be by yourself in the boat. Oh my god.
Like it's like that game with the little putty monsters, and whomever survives, that's because in an anarchy, it's obedience.
Everybody takes turns piloting the boat or captaining the boat. Everybody.
No,
Every
because then
person
that
that
is
wants
then
to.
that
Every
is a
person that wants to.
democracy. That is an
No,
enforced civil
I'm going to
state.
fix this. This
No,
is,
if
this is
everyone
worse
has
than the
equal-
train question.
If
the
everyone has
trolley
equality,
question.
it's not an anarchy.
If
Because nobody's
everybody
equal in
has
nature.
the option to drive to captain the boat on the sea,
How would they have the option? Would you take it from other people when they want to use it? What if someone wants to use it the whole time? Like you're talking about equality and equity, which are not anarchy.
but I'm talking about maritime law.
Yeah, in maritime law, a captain could say that everyone has equal time on the boat with a sword.
But maritime law
gun.
is anarchy because there's no one governing it.
There's
for
no
the
one above the
captain.
captain, and the captain rose to the top. So anybody who rises to the top in anarchy assumes a position of hierarchy, unless you have the entire group try to stop that, in which case they become
That's a
the
parlay,
hierarchy. I don't know.
isn't it? Isn't that what
Seems
that
like
means?
it really,
All right. So I'm not an anarchist.
democracy if you do, democracy if you don't. I don't know. It's kind of scary.
Democracy can't exist because there's no such thing as shared actual information given to people.
Okay, here's a question. Do you think that democracy
we shouldn't have
requires
started
Brittany, what do you say democracy requires shared actual information?
Schools that are teaching across your entire democracy all of the information and all the facts as agreed upon by all of the people, and they all know what the kids are being taught.
So a well-informed populace. Do you think that democracy requires a well-informed populace? And on what level?
Yeah, you can't vote unless you're informed, and people vote all the time with misinformation. So therefore, there can't be democracy. Is what I'm saying.
Be suppressed if that was the situation.
Yeah, information can be suppressed and misinformation can be produced.
Correct. It always can. So there's no existence of democracy unless you have your own utopian society where you start in this anarchist world.
Okay, then what do we
you
call?
You could have a democracy within an anarchy.
But what do we call our false democracy then? What do you call the American Idol show that we live in?
Democracy can't exist unless there's an anarchy in charge of it, because
the government run like they basically run like they're a bunch of like lawless the bad side, like the negative connotation of what people think anarchy is.
KB says anarchy just means no overt governmental oversight authority. It does not mean no organization or structure.
Depending on type, probably though, because so there's no organizational structure. But what if your anarchist society has the freedom to start making choices?
Have organizational structure.
You couldn't.
You could, yeah. If
anarchy is the gray area of all things. There you go. Boom. It's like a volcano.
You must read Anarchist Handbook.
Like
That's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Bananas.
What are some of the things also, Dee? Like, so we talked a bit about, yeah, there it is. Let me do it. Wait, pull it back. Let me do a solo. Hold it up there. There you go. And so you were talking about Emma.
Yeah.
Emma what? Sorry.
Goldman.
Emma Goldman. What are some of the other characters you found interesting in the book?
Sterner. He's interesting, but he's the egoist. And he's... I don't know. He's not religious, spiritual, or anything. So he's kind of a radical in that way.
He's a great meme.
Yeah, he is. You know why? Because there's not a lot of actual images of him. Well, because he wasn't popular until he was dead anyway.
It's like a lot of them.
So when you say the egoist, what kinds of things do you think anarchy could bring to the ego, and how is the ego going to help?
Okay, I would have to... The best way to do that would be to look up the, Max Stirner's, philosophy of that. But
egoism, arguing the individuals are impossible to fully comprehend, as no understanding of the self can adequately describe the fullness of experience. Stirner has been broadly understood as containing traits of both physiological egoism and rational egoism. Psychological egoism. Sorry, I was thinking physiological though because of Neuralink, because I'm pretty sure he's about to be. What do you call that? We're out of date. What's it called? Obsolete. I think obsolescence is part of a lot of our philosophical concepts that are coming with Neuralink.
Mm-hmm. Obsolescence.
Right. So the idea that that the ego can't be experienced is only true until like 2029. And then
are they rolling that out in 6 months?
Oh, Julia's got a good point that Elon Musk said that they're going to probably do Neuralink sooner. He said we could have it out in 6 months, and now that he owns Twitter, why
Everybody
not?
watch Brainstorm and then think about Neuralink. That's all I think
and
about.
And then think about it. Yeah, absolutely. Though you're right.
You should stream that on your Discord. Can we? Can you? Is it on Amazon?
I could Twitch.
It's like
it.
I
might start doing movie streams on Twitch because we can watch movies.
She died, mate. Did she die?
Yeah, Natalie Wood
in that movie.
In the movie, yeah.
Jesus,
But yeah, Neuralink is going to be, so right now Neuralink's been implemented already in animals, and we haven't even heard enough.
That's old
about,
though. That's the monkey
I
studies.
wonder
where
how
they would
Neuralink
shock
and
them.
cloning like line up.
Wait,
of like,
wait.
do you need like a chip if you're cloned? Like how that works?
So they're gonna have a computer chip and not like
substrate
a.
independence. So once you've got the Neuralink in your clone, then you can use substrate independence in order to move your mind to another. And that is the goal.
I just got a great idea. Multiplicity, but only with these animals that are being cloned with Neuralinks.
That'd be a fun
So
movie.
like,
you mean
a
they
monkey,
gave me a monkey?
and so it's a monkey, and he keeps getting cloned, but he's
This
also
summer,
Neuralink.
Rob
So
Schneider
every
is
time,
substrate independent. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
Remember when
And-
Amanda Bynes came out and said that she
Yeah.
was chipped? Like she said that
Oh,
they
what?
put a chip in her head.
I was
She
just thinking
tweeted-
about
she
that. With
tweeted that
Kanye
out.
I
and
don't
the
remember
MK Ultra
that.
stuff, and then the shavings of the head / mask.
Who doesn't have a microchip in their head? Who hasn't woken up after a 72-hour
Some people,
hold?
a lot of the Native Americans
Or Amanda
that
Bynes.
were taken from their mothers got chipped too, and think that
Really?
they have.
When?
So when the Catholic
Like
Church
centuries ago? What are you
took
saying? You
all-
put
no,
chips in them?
we're
What?
talking about like my good friend's
Oh,
husband that had to be taken from his mom as an orphan because whatever Native American, I think single mothers didn't get to keep their children in as I mean this is recent history,
I would imagine.
60s.
Microchipped, you said?
But yeah, they have like chips that are, I don't know if it's part of the MK Ultra. I don't know if it's like people think they're schizophrenic. And people have found like these RFID type of, I don't know. I'll look into it. So I have it. I didn't know we were talking about that. Oh, yeah. Like that. What? That's old school. That, what? That's what it looks like? Okay. You gotta
That's
have Ellen
huge.
on. So my friend's been investigating this for her ex-husband now. I don't know, but for a very long time. And since the parents, like, they'll eliminate who the mothers are, they'll delete the history and the records, but yeah, they can be tracked.
RFID is really interesting because it's the Soviets actually invented this, and the way it works is that if you're looking for it, you can't find it necessarily, but you could
They're
if you
using
wanted
this
it. You
tech
could if
for
you
the
wanted
Neuralink
to.
stuff?
Oh yeah, so
Oh my god!
So imagine
this is
you've
like
got
old studies
well, this is
stuff.
like inside of everything. Your dollar bills, you have an RFID tag, but what it is it's got a bunch of these like hairs, like magnets that are tilted one direction because they've been pushed over, and they just stay that way unless another radio wave hits them, and then they could bounce the other direction. So they're printed and waiting dormant until something scans them. So you could walk through
a frequency.
Let's say you walk through like a 7-Eleven doorway, right? It shoots out this little microwave, and then that bounces off of the chip. And then the RFID sends out, hey, I'm Steve, the RFID chip. This is a Gillette razor. It has gone through these 36 locations that every time I've gone through, I've recorded, and now I'm adding your location to it. And they can use RFID chips for everything, for dollars.
But this is also how you could run perpetual motors everywhere all the time using frequencies. I'm just saying. There's a lot of data on ultra high and ultra low frequencies.
Well, this is like assuming that radio is out there. The RFID chip will rely on that instead of a battery, right? And so you could use actually radio waves from your body because you have an electrical.
Oh yeah, we got
system.
this last time.
But also, people just walk by radio all the time.
Yeah,
and when that happens,
it's buried with copper
says,
coils.
hey, it's Amanda Bynes, and here's all the last places that she's walked by that we've had scanned, right?
That's funny though. People don't believe in the power of like being able to run motors using frequencies, but you can literally do way crazier.
I used to have an RFID reader writer that I used just to cheat the boardwalk.
Or get like hotel keys.
Basically, but only for arcades. Yeah, that's a way cooler idea. Is just to sneak into the Ritz. But no, I think I just use it so I could play video games at the Boardwalk arcade because you could copy.
Does it work for any type of RFID? It just like overrides it and you get access, or what?
Yeah, I mean, so people should have things covering their cards in their wallets because you have even worse is NFC chips, NFC credit card.
So this is different than the chip you get for your social rating when you get an implant for like what your social rank is and stuff.
What do you mean?
Credit scores and stuff. That's different than a Neuralink chip. Neuralink is like I want to learn Russian. Let me plug into my computer.
Right. So
now I know
so
Russian.
exactly. So the RFID
Kung
chip
Fu.
will just send data that they can hack, right? And so you can have the data
Okay.
out there, but the neural link will put information into your brain, so it'll
Mhm.
actually, you can all of a sudden turn on infrared
So
sight.
when someone dies, you can have their memories or their dreams or whatever.
Well, not with just the simplest understanding of Neuralink, but with the technology that exists, you might be able to print in with the Neuralink somebody else's recorded substrate independent mind. So substrate independent mind recordings are going to become, I mean, first off, from our understanding, it takes something like 300 gigajoules of energy to do this. It would be the same kind of
frequencies.
We might be able to do it other
produce those
ways.
things though, like ultra high. Like it's all about the frequencies making motion, man. I don't know.
Like the holodeck experience, or no,
Crystal.
what's it called? What's it called in Star Trek? You know,
What?
transporter in Star Trek. Transporter, Star Trek. Works.
Sick bay. That's all I remember.
The idea of the transporter, which was like an afterthought because they didn't have special effects, it was going to take a lot of time to have them drop a ship down every time that they need to land. You know, they just put like cups of sand that they spun against glasses. But the idea is that it would shoot 300 gigajoules of energy and make a full atomic and even quantum 3D model of everything connected to itself. And so from there, you can emulate it in a system if you're able to have a printout. And that's what they want to do, because then you'd be able to skip a lot of the clinical trials. You'd be able to do pretty close to physics real experiences, and that's what they want. And not just for meta, but also to do predictions about what kind of nature, science, environmental impacts, feedback loops, viruses. You know, you would want to start with a digital simulation of a person, but then that wouldn't work the same as a normal person, because the hardware you're running on matters, right? You're not just a virtualization, you're actually the experience of these.
I matter. I'm not digital.
You're just
I'm just kidding. But
say it again, D. What?
You're just describing the Matrix, the movie, whenever you're.
Yeah, just the first part though, because then the thing is, the next thing is moving it to a human body, and that's why the Neuralink is interesting, because once you put something on the internet, it's digital, it's like an MP3, but once you put it into a real body, then it's got emotional responses to the sensorial stimuli, and that changes the way it works. It's not just an approximation of your priorities from the past; it's actually updating based on your feelings, and feelings are a huge part of the human experience. So that's also going to change everything in 2029, because it means AI will be able to use humans as emotional processors.
You could clone yourself if you're going to die, Neuralink yourself, upload yourself to your clone self after you die, and exist as yourself in yourself.
Have you seen Dollhouse?
Because it's really just when the mind dies, that's when you die. It's not necessarily.
But the mind doesn't die this way. I mean, I'm just saying in the Black Mirror, where they upload
Schopenhauer
their
would
minds.
say, like, it wouldn't matter if I lived or died, because at this point, more people know me digitally than they do in real life. And so the version of me that matters more is the version that more people interact with, which is a YouTube approximation of the real thing. So, I mean, well, you know, or it matters more because I feel alive, but that's the other argument. That's the egoist argument.
I think it's too of like the implications of like the
They're calling it
consequence of
egoist to
cloning.
want to be alive. Bullshit.
Like the consequences of cloning, you know, like what I heard that you could lose your creativity spark. Like what are the, you know, say you need a liver printed, and is that full blown cloning? Like, do you need to clone the whole body to get, you know, just
multiplicity, man? I think it gets
consequences?
worse and worse with each clone that you do of yourself, like just like that movie.
Well,
shows with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I think multiplicity is right. Sorry, go D.
They'll be able to 3D print a liver eventually.
Oh, they can. They've already done. So I remember in school in 2012, we did a pancreas.
I'm talking about transhumanism, not Neuralink, though.
Because what you just use like glucose. You 3D print in glucose, and then you build something that actually then the glucose holds up for when you can bring in white blood cells, and then they'll form around the thing, and then the glucose, they'll just eat the glucose like a frame. The pancreas is way easier to do than a liver, but the liver, I think they did that like 2 years ago, maybe 4.
I do have a
the lung is really hard because of the alveoli structure. You can't really 3D print the lung, but you could grow. Maybe you
I can see it.
But you could grow the lung for sure.
Before we get to the all the biology here / I don't know, trans biology. I disagree though, because here's the thing that you're saying. If you want to live, that's your ego. But what if you don't really want to live? You want to live because you have children, and so you have to stay alive for others. I mean,
why not just delete the part of you that doesn't want to live?
I'm just saying,
it's not very useful.
to have that be part of the ego argument. So I think there's a flaw in that.
So let's say somebody says they don't want to live, and they bring them before the futuristic Congress, and the futuristic Congress is this AI that has to decide what to do. And it's like, okay, so they don't want to live. What are the ramifications of that? Well, they have a family, and there's a bunch of responsibilities to society. Okay, so then so society is important enough that this person stays alive for, then they have to decide, why do you not want to live, and is it important enough that we fix that, or do we just remove that strain on you that you don't want to live from society because you were fitting a role?
I get that, but I'm just saying in general, the argument to say that is a part of your ego, I could argue that that's not. Wanting to live doesn't have to be a part of your ego. Like there's been points in times where you're forced to live because your empathy and care for others.
That's your super ego.
Yeah, so probably. It's not related to just directly your ego. Are you saying super ego is the same then?
I mean, super ego and ego are both probably, I mean, I don't know. Do you agree? Anybody agree with me that they're kind of projections of the idiom, or what do you think?
I don't know if it's just that there's different ideas of what ego, like what's Brittany's definition of ego, or because your ego is also like, maybe you have a fear of dying. That's part of your ego too. And that's not like being egotistical necessarily.
But there's different reasons to fear dying.
Like, I mean, if you're afraid of losing yourself, I mean, ego death is like,
to be honest, I'm not scared to die. I'm like my life, but if I think about my children having to face that, then I feel extremely not scared to die. I think about them having to experience that. That I'm not necessarily afraid of death though. So I just desperately would not want to die because I would not want them to have to face that, going through that, you know? I don't know.
For other reasons, for maybe you're in a lot of physical pain, like chronic pain, and that's not, that'll make you go crazy. And so what would you do? Would you live with the chronic pain that you will never get rid of? For how long? For your children?
It's just like the trolley question.
Well, if everybody edits their personality, like what kind of world we would live in, like what you would remove and what you would delete and what you would add.
And
it's gonna be nuts because most people in the 20 years aren't gonna have many original experiences. We're gonna be stacks of memories that you download on YouTube, and then there's gonna be people that have common memories,
and carbon,
like very unique memories to pay extra for. Like,
what was that, Desi?
There should be a way to get rid of chronic pain. Then that would help in your situation a better life, so you can longer for your children through this whatever topic we were talking about earlier.
Substrate independence. Substrate independence, like moving bodies or just like deleting. Because the thing is, pain can be like, this is the thing, like, we're running on hardware, and so the idea that you can change the hardware doesn't mean you're not immortal necessarily. It just means you're changing the hardware. You could still die, you could still you could still be immortal in another way in heaven. Who knows? None of those. This is a problem with our altered carbon. It doesn't really. That show means, yeah.
Okay. What about blood boys though? Like, how long do people live when they have someone that sits there that you're constantly changing and recirculating your blood? Like, I mean, could you live forever?
Probably you'd have to replace. I mean, you could
if you replace your blood boy with younger blood boy and continuously.
But it seems like it would make more sense just to clone yourself and then use Neuralink to
re-upload yourself to a different you.
Yeah, and it would probably take a while to get it close to.
And then when you get to the new you, it's just you, and you're like, "Hey, I'm me, and I'm just in a younger body." And then they discard your body.
I mean, if a lizard loses a tail and grows another tail, is it the same tail? It's not the same tail.
It would be the same though. Like what was that show that had the people that did that when they died? They got not Black Mirror, that other one.
Maybe altered carbon. I mean, the thing with altered carbon though is they say the Catholics, the neo-Catholics in that show are against body switching.
It's
I'm
another
just saying
show
that wouldn't
where they
change
download themselves when they're gonna die.
A lot of people, which I don't know.
Oh, we just watched it.
Oh,
anyway,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, so like that. It's just
called?
it's like
Forget
that person literally jumps
Upload?
into their it's like upload. They
It's
go
called
into their
upload.
new body and they leave their other body behind.
Give me 2 seconds.
So it's just like that. That's kind of the research that I'm finding and looking into. Oh, as he comes back with some of this science stuff. Yes. Haha. Some of these books, it's probably not even the right way, but this goes back to it's like old studies on after death and energy and crystallization. So if he's talking about being able to do this and having enough power to do it with radio frequency, you'd need to have
like soul transfer,
some sort of crystals and things like that. Soul transfer / that's what he's talking about. He's talking about essentially uploading your soul to a crystal or whatever you're going to use, a disc, a neural link, and then cloning your body so that your soul can go back into your same self, which is just so bizarre to me.
I feel like that already exists, like organically. We're just not taught about it. You know,
correct.
Like pineal is like there's the organic AI like that we're connected. So it's a duplication of a mechanical version of something.
But this might be what would prevent that, and it would be so if like Akashic record and tapping into that and channeling, remote viewing and these things where you can go beyond just our bodies, right? That we'll get into when we get into episodes. I got a lot of evidence on this that I'm just it's blowing my mind. But so once that happens, or you're able to do that, and you physically die, is there a plan for your soul that it's supposed to do? Or if you can now Neuralink or upload yourself, are you interfering with that plan? And you're saying, I'm going to store myself on a crystal because my body's getting old. Then you could implant yourself into anything. You could be like, I want to put myself into this plant and see what it's like for a week. Or,
But
I mean, I don't know.
Frozen for
Cryogenic freezing.
That was so I think she was referring to Arthur C. Clarke's 3001, The Final Odyssey. I don't know if that was your actual metaphor. That is literally the script to 3001. Arthur C. Clarke wrote 2001: Space Odyssey, and you've seen the movie, and there's also 2010. But 3001, which is his, I think, final Space Odyssey book. The guy
he wrote a book like My Idea.
Yeah, so the astronaut gets frozen in like Jupiter's ice rings or something like that instantaneously. Right. So he's cryogenically frozen.
Okay.
And then when they wake him up again, they replace his brain with a diamond crystal thing.
Oh.
They have to shave his head so he's bald like everybody in the future.
What?
Cool. I don't think there's anyone. Has anyone ever drawn any pictures about it? Like, I don't know. Like
I want to. Your AI could
crystal brain replacement. I'm gonna just have to go on.
That'd be too powerful.
On Dolly.
These crystals I'm finding are nuts.
Well, that's the
about it.
That's the whole thing. Is the crystallized memory and the fact that you can choose which direction crystals grow and that you can have
magnetics, magnetism.
Beyond that, so we use
much.
crystals for clocks with electricity, but they also use them for prisms, and prism means 7 to 8 times as much information because you can have a rainbow of data at once instead of one little bip of light, right? So you've got all this confluence of different kinds.
Part of the vital forces. Crystallization is part of the vital force.
Yeah, crystal substrate independence. I'm pretty sure you'll lose a lot, but you'll gain a lot more. So it's kind of like, did you ever watch Deep Space Nine? Star Trek Deep Space Nine. There's this character called Dax, who is I know Trek really. DS9, dude.
Is that the one with the sickbay lady?
So this girl, and I'm telling you that like this is before the whole pronoun thing. This is the reason why I'm calling her a girl.
Okay,
is because this humanish girl, she's just got Dax put in her. Dax is this other thing.
That's right.
Dax is this parasitical symbiotic life form that has been living in like 20 different
old
humans.
Man, right?
Well, last time it was an old man, right?
If you haven't seen it, it's pretty trippy.
But so she went to college and got all ready so that she could have when this other guy died, this immortal parasite put in her gut and control her nervous system. And so she's
It's really
simultaneously partially this old man who's also been like 20 other people throughout
And is
time.
in love with like a young lady,
Well,
but
was-
it's really an old man.
Captain
Uh,
Cisco.
this
was-
is what she looks like
so
for real.
Cisco grew up on the show. He grew up as a little boy with the old man, and now he's like friends with this, now she's like hot.
But it's still the old man that he
Yeah.
loves.
And so that's a big part
But
of
they
the
carry each soul
the
each
show.
time.
And then she's got this weird thing going on with the Klingon, right?
Yeah.
Worf. But that's what it is. I don't know. Point being, substrate independence. That's kind of the point. So like you get something new. Like, so for instance, started as an old man, or started as an alien with no feelings at all, right? Because you're traveling through space and you don't want to get lonely. But then you get in a human body finally and you want to have some feels. So you got the man feels, but then he dies. So now she's got this young woman, and Star Trek even takes this point of going from Vulcan to Troy. Like the Vulcans have no feelings, and then Troy is this empath that travels on Next Generation to feel like and sense, and everything. So the idea that all of a sudden this person is more in control of their emotions means their emotions are more valuable.
I feel like this happens with like attachments and stuff with people, like even seeing like some hypnosis regression sessions where, the person's under hypnosis and then they speak to them and there's an attachment and then the person's under hypnosis and they're speaking in a different voice and they're saying, that they attach to the light and explaining why. And then, where the hypnosis person like releases them to the light, like you need to leave their body. And I feel like that happens all the time with people. I feel like people are constantly channeling and, there's all kinds of attachments.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think a lot of the aliens, like if they're real, the idea of light beings is a lack of attachment. Like, so demons have a lack of attachment. Angels have a lack of attachment. Like the physical attachment's gone. But because of that, it's easier to exist without feelings. And then the human realm is the sensorial thing that the characters from Casper, the Friendly Ghost, his like uncles are just like consuming to feel because they can't.
It's like we're supposed to have a symbiotic relationship, with like whatever is able to enter, like tap into.
I mean, and I think a lot of people, it could be construed as, and I'm sure people have been burnt at the stake for suggesting this, but like the moon rituals, a lot of the festivals, like that's a big thing for Indonesian cultures, for Turkish cultures, for, African mystics, the Akan, in Haiti, they still do this, that your bodies are, the spirits, your ancestors, people that have died, that they're using your body to feel, and you eat, and they're eating through you,
Or they even leave out gifts, food, cigarettes, alcohol for their ancestors. And some stories say that, that they've even the food, the cigarettes, the alcohol, it'll be gone the next morning.
Yeah, but man, if I could run a temple, that would be my racket. Are you kidding me?
That's how
your ancestors love steak.
Right.
I feel like that's why it's so important to cleanse, because I feel like certain unclean spirits are able to enter like a certain percentage of bacteria. That's why they like dirty houses. And so when you're, just loaded with parasites and bacteria and all this stuff, they're more able to enter and latch on and enter people, and that's where a lot of the problems are.
Yeah, I'm always curious about like what gut fauna you're supposed to have, because like antibiotics are pretty dangerous and probiotics are pretty great. Of course, too many probiotics can lead you to a point where you're digesting yourself, basically. So you have to be kind of careful there too. But if you eat too much,
causing addiction or depression or stuff.
No, but I knew a girl who worked for Whole Foods, and she drank nothing but kombucha until eventually, like, she couldn't get any more nutrition out of her diet because it was all going to like.
There's a lot of sugar in kombucha.
Yeah, it's true too. But you can get to a point with probiotics that can be overpowering, but at the same time, you can also get to the point where you erase them. Like people eat colloidal metals. Colloidal metals can be really great, but they can also kill your gut fauna. Eating nothing, if you eat like a month's worth of oregano tincture, you can kill off all your gut fauna, and that's led to supposedly, I'm not a medical expert, but like cancer and things like that. People have died from losing their gut fauna. So it's weird trying to find the balance with the bus, like, because you've got this You're a bus of micro.
It's almost like deleting your chip organically, you know? It's like it's deleting your gut fauna. What do you delete? What do you keep?
Can't
Yeah.
believe you just called all of us buses. That's great. You're a bus.
Yeah, don't clip that.
I
part
came
of
back
Ray's
for
in it.
that. That was
I don't know.
lovely.
I mentioned more like we're just lots of people on the
You're a
bus, but yeah.
bus.
The mind is controlled by the gut in a lot of ways. You know, you got to be careful about what's in
True.
your gut. But also, like, did you do the Alex Jones gut fauna? He had probiotic pills for. I got a bunch of
I
the
have
pills
those.
at one
I
point,
don't
like 6
smell
years
like-
ago. Yeah, when Ian and I went to Peru, we brought a bunch of them, and I was like, I actually don't think I need this because like all the stuff you got in those pills is from Peru. It's all like super foods. Like the red pill has like beet extract and maca. It's like, okay, male vitality. All right. Griffonia seed and the moody bird. I like the moody bird. That's supposed to be for menopause or something, but I think it's great. I don't know.
You're taking that?
No, I don't
That's
take any
terrible.
pills. Look at me.
I didn't know you said you liked it.
Yeah, no, that one was a good pill because it had griffonia and it had rose hips in it. It was a good. I mean, people keep complaining about Alex Jones, and all he does is make like supplements that are healthy and talk about weird stuff. And to be fair, that's like, especially the people complaining, that's their goal. Anyone I know who's upset, I'm like, come on, if you could have like a health food thing that told you that you were fighting against injustice and misinformation, and you sold maca and rose hips.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's like all you ever wanted, you Santa Cruz kids. So I don't know why people complain about Alex Jones.
I love Alex Jones.
He's hilarious.
Dude, I feel bad for him though. The yay thing was like,
Did you see that?
you got to
Did you
feel bad
both
for him
see
all the
that?
time. You got to feel bad for him because of the whole trial and then they're stealing his money.
But the net.
But the next one is like
and
the
the Yoo-hoo?
Netanyahu thing. It's like, oh, you're just gonna.
The idea was doing skits. It was,
Yeah.
It was like a Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
How funny what he said about water torture. Like, I practice Chinese water torture on myself.
I didn't hear
Because
that.
he was like, if the Clintons are going to kill me, he wanted to be prepared. I was laughing so hard. What?
Was that at the end?
I mean, he said so many
Kanye
things.
said that.
hear
I
them
did
all.
not
It's
hear him
okay.
say that. I would have died.
Yeah, he said
Owen Benjamin watched
He's
Kanye
been talking to him, I guess, every
tell his
day.
jokes.
Yeah.
So he did the rewatch on his show, and it was
He's like,
hilarious.
anyone want to see it? I sure do.
And
he
he
watched
was
it and laughed.
laughing
He's
his
just like
ass
bent
off.
over laughing. He's like, oh. Anyone
was
want to see it
great.
again? I sure do. And he watches it
Watched
one
it
time.
again.
What's up, Bernie? Welcome to Ladies Night.
Hey,
Hey, Omnius is with us.
What up?
You know, I
Omnius,
found
if you... Sorry, Julie, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, Kanye has that condition, synesthesia. How do you say it?
Synesthesia.
Yeah, where you see, he could see stuff, and it's like two parts of the hemisphere of your brains that is like harmonious. You're tapped into both sides, and I just feel like, with his both sides, like he could be unifying like two sides. He has the ability to do it, but yeah.
being steered maybe or reared or
Yeah, I wish that Nick wasn't there with him. It's kinda
that was
scary.
interesting to have. Yeah, his little.
Don't
buddy.
trust the groupies. Omnius, you want to do another freestyle?
If you want me to.
All right,
Dude,
so I
he's
gotta
gonna do a freestyle.
This guy, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's the
Do
keyboard.
one
Actually,
last
to
piece.
get the audio,
Beatbox?
Yeah.
Shut
I
up.
gotta put this
Yes.
back at your
I
end,
love
so
beatbox.
that's
Mute
right,
me.
and bring you back in.
Quickly.
Hold on, we'll be back in 2 minutes. We'll be back.
Yes!
In 2 minutes. Hold
2
on.
minute countdown starting right now.
Cool. That was your
120.
warning. There you go.
119.
If you girls have any freestyle
118.
ideas, this is your
Boom.
chance.
We should. I'm not gonna beatbox
Yeah,
now that
send
you have a
them beat
beatboxer
around,
on.
ladies.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be funny.
I love beatbox.
Do
remember
Randy
when,
Savage. Listen
oh
up
my-
here.
Randy Savage's
my dad
album is
had,
underrated.
remember
I
the
love
first
Randy Savage's CD.
That was on Napster. It was like, if your mother only knew. If your mother. Sorry.
Dude,
Like my dad had Napster.
did you ever
I'm
listen?
just kidding. Oh my gosh.
Did you ever
hold
listen
on.
to Randy Savage's
I
Be a
did not
Man?
say
though?
that.
What?
Be a Man, the Randy
Is that a
Savage
beatbox?
album is so good. I have this album. Be a Man.
I
by
need to
Randy
hear it.
Savage.
There's beatboxing.
I
on
really
this?
like if I could play it on my show, I would.
Freestyle in Randy Savage voice.
My
please.
particular favorite song is number 6,
this is-
Remember Me,
this
which is
is-
like, hey brother, I miss you and I hope you're doing well
This
up
is-
there in heaven where the angels sing and
So
play.
this is not.
like-
This isn't beatbox. This is more like beatnik.
No, this is new core rap. This is 2003, October 7th. This is like, yeah, this is a picture of a time.
It's like Metal Talk.
Yes.
I mean, kind
That's so
of.
adorable.
It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of a
love it.
rap though. I don't
love
know.
that.
Yeah.
I like Beat Like Box. That was new to me in like 1999, 2000 when I got the first little Napster. I was like, I like that guy. He's like, boom,
How could you forget
He's
me?
making
Forget all
siren-
about
weird
me.
noises.
You'll remember me from back in the days. The wrestling OG Randy Savage don't play. Been chilling into a cut, but I'm back in the scene. I'll still kick your butt because I'm still real mean. Yeah, it's like that.
That's
like,
awesome. I dig it. I love Randy. I love wrestlers. That's great.
Dude, he's cool.
What about the TV show we never talked about with Jesse the Body and they're piano movers, remember? And they live. His name?
I don't know.
We're filling time, but yeah, there's definitely a.
Kai Smooth,
Are they
you
back?
joining in?
Are they back with the beatbox?
Are they?
All right.
I don't, Kai Smooth. I don't think we're doing we're doing a different kind of stream. It's a ladies' night stream, but maybe you should join next time because I'm just gonna have the beatbox thing, and then we're gonna be cutting down because it's the end of the 2-hour thing. Not a tech stream, but much love.
Who is that?
Kai Smooth. Bernie sent the link because of people. I gotta explain to Bernie like
Bye.
different shows.
Oh yeah,
for
ladies.
different
But it's
strokes.
okay.
It's
I
ladies' night.
want to hear the beatbox.
Yeah, but that's not.
What?
Officers here. We've got multiple people inside, so yeah, here.
Oh, it's the same place.
Under it
Okay,
all.
we're good. Omnius is here. I thought that was the other dude.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, because just making sure it wasn't the sciencey one.
Are you streaming the same exact thing?
Yeah, because we were doing because
On both
simultaneously we
channels?
were doing the science stream on the other channel.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You want me to just give a basic beat?
You go and then mute us.
Do as you like.
Transformation.
Ladies' night.
Oh, you
Oh, no.
what's
Oh my God. So
do you want me
awesome.
to go? Is someone like rapping over me, or am I just going off?
You're just going. Go
You're just
off.
gonna have to go on
off.
for a while.
Yeah.
Ladies.
stay calm as the beatboxer soothes the ladies of ladies' night. Say it again.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
What?
Yeah.
The definition of sound. I hope that was okay for now.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Much love,
dude, bro, whoa! Like I feel like I just got a free concert. That was way better than that.
Thank you. I thought
The
it was
song that I ever heard.
just
That
on the spot. And I
They're
love
just
That
too
was so
intricate.
good.
Like I can't imagine freestyling over that. That's like that's
no.
its own
I
thing,
just
man.
I didn't know
That's
if you were
beautiful.
so I just
No,
went
that's what I'm
on.
saying.
No,
That
no,
was-
we'll go
do a
do
basic
something over
beat.
that
You're
Do a
too, that,
basic
I
beat,
know you
like-
could do a basic
It is
beat.
the
I was just
beginning.
like, this is way too.
That's for later. We'll do
way
a
too
basic
heady.
beat.
Yeah,
I
I
was
could
like,
do a
let's go for
basic
it.
beat, but I gotta
do
make
a
sure I'm
rap
hearing
for
you
that.
do it. Otherwise, I just go
Yeah,
off.
we're good. Let's.
No, that was
I don't
awesome.
even want to
I
freestyle.
yeah, I was. That's what I was saying. You're
Like-
too
We'll do
good.
that in
You're too good for
private.
that, bro.
Let's do that
You're too
in
good for basic
private.
beats.
Like a basic beat, like it'd be like.
Ladies.
Ladies' night. There you go.
And then
Ladies.
that's what I thought you were gonna.
Yeah,
thought
okay.
that was
But
good.
no,
We start
we
freestyling
just
us, but-
wanted to listen to you
Yeah,
because
we're
that was
happy.
way
Oh,
too
see,
good.
that's okay. Then that's why I went a little further, and that's why it was harder to. Okay.
No,
yeah.
no,
But
we're,
some
we're
other
saying,
time,
why would
you
we
should come to
why
every
would-
one of
why would
Andreas's
we-
show.
Why would we stand
That'd
in
be
your
great.
way?
And then he should do that at
Yeah.
the end of a show. Like you just have
They'll be back.
what? What was that? That was not you. Do that again. What was that?
The one and
That
only
was a...
sound effects. All sound effects.
See, now I don't need your synthesizers.
That's
Just
what I was
need
thinking.
him,
I was like pulling the batteries right out of their chests. at that
Wow.
point.
that's so
Love
rad.
that.
What? Who is that? What's your name now? I'm sorry.
Ominous.
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 I'm sorry. I was thinking of ominous here. That's so funny.
Ominous. He's ominous. Ominous.
Ominous.
Now I'm gonna confuse.
Ominous.
Ominous. I want to go to Beachbox.
KY Smooth.
Where are you from? Ominous.
Calgary.
Ominous.
Calgarian. He's a
Gotcha.
Calgarian.
Yeah. He's
Cool. Yeah, you
Born and
got to
raised
do
in
that for your
Alberta.
shows. That'd be sweet.
you.
Well,
Canadians can beatbox.
This is your opportunity.
Some of them, yeah.
You're on
I know,
ladies' night.
some
Is
of
there
them.
any questions you wanted to ask
Ooh.
the expert panel of women here that know the
Ooh,
truth about
we
science,
know ladies.
anarchy, mysticism, philosophy? You can go pretty deep if you wanted.
Definitely.
I know.
I got my science books.
Yeah, that's a short question deserving of a longer answer, I'm afraid. I don't want to say anything that might overstep boundaries or rules or regulations.
No, there's
that
no
might
rules.
offend some.
Regulations.
But I
There's
know
no
science
rules.
is an ongoing experimentation, so I guess in that way I can always ask a question.
Note to self: don't rhyme regulations with schmegulations ever again. I don't think that's the one to do.
I didn't say schmegulations.
No, I did. That was a,
He did, not you. You're
But I
perfect.
did-
you're fine here.
He asked me not to, and I just said it.
No, yeah, you're okay.
I walked into that one. You know, that old chestnut.
Rap. Wow.
Brittany, what about these,
Oh,
Whoa. There.
hold on. You did. I think he did something to your mic.
Oh,
He
yeah.
like beatboxed. What is that? Ooh, the
E
E meter. Oh my gosh. Yes.
there's this.
Wait, what's going on now? Yes.
We're gonna have to make.
Drills.
I want to do a
Drills,
whole
yep.
thing.
Do you know
on
what?
all
I
our-
needed those, so I bought an
Sometimes-
E meter.
Sometimes they
by
go
the
pretty
way.
deep. You know, that's
I
some
bought
deep
it.
talk.
I bought an
Even it-
e-meter for $600 because I wanted to see if it worked. I had to sell it back, but I didn't have the drills and I didn't have the books, and I almost probably electrocuted my friend. I don't know.
Maybe next ladies' night we can go deep dive into L. Ron
That's so
Hubbard,
awesome.
though.
I guess-
think
I guess
love
we're
to
gonna enter exit stage left.
Oh, you're
Love you,
awesome.
ladies.
Can you
Bring
come
it
back
back,
next
William.
time we have ladies' night and do another one of
You're
those?
welcome back to
Ooh,
B-Bucks.
ominous.
Please, and we'll come up with
Ominous
like
is popular with the ladies.
yeah, we'll I'll have my own little ABBA verse for each of us if you don't want to, but if you want to come with your own verses, ladies, you
Yeah.
can do that.
I just
I'm
love
not
anybody with long
trying
hair.
to be
I
an
like to just
anti-anarchist.
anywhere I can do that. That's great.
All right, so
Yes.
I guess
Oh my
we'll
gosh.
have to
Hold on.
time
And
the
come on
next
my
time
channel.
goes down to then the after party will be with the ladies.
And I'll have you on Recent Tartarians or the Truth Fairy just
You're
to
on Recent
beatbox
Tartarians right now?
anytime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
am.
thank you. I
streaming
really
too.
appreciate that. Thanks for
That's
listening.
awesome. I
Thanks
love
for
it. I
having me.
love. Yeah.
Cheers, ladies. Have a good night. Thank you.
Peace.
Yes,
Bye.
nice to meet
Hey,
you.
Guy, we're gonna get in touch
Guy.
with some Twitch streaming soon.
And
Much
you can
love,
join us next time for ladies' night. It'd be fun to have a couple of gentlemen, but you
Peace.
know, I guess that defeats the purpose. But
Yeah, I was like,
That
all
was
right, well,
fun.
if dudes are gonna invade ladies' night and they're not
there
gonna
should be
beatbox,
an invasion.
then
That was great,
I would be
dude.
kind of
Or get a
offended.
lady that beatbox like that. That
Wait,
was
but-
he was all over beatboxing. Usually, there's like
You know what they
genres.
say about beatboxers.
Yeah.
What doth
I
this
want to
say,
learn.
Julia.
Dude,
They box beats. I don't know.
They beat the box. Why didn't you?
Oh.
Don't break stuff.
It's so
Careful with
appropriate
that
to be
glass
on
of
ladies'
wine.
night. It's so appropriate. So appropriate.
Good job, Julia. I thought that was clever. That points to Gryffindor. Yes. All right. E-meters though. Let's start to like pull up. What do you call that in like a?
I get
Congress
it
when-
now, though. I do get
Were
it.
you
I
like
get the
a
joke.
requiem or what's it called? Like for next week, if we're gonna get back together, I'd like to get some stuff on L. Ron Hubbard. I think that'd be kind of interesting when we get deep into e-meters.
Can't believe I didn't get that joke.
Show us what you got again. You got the e-meter book. and
Oh
you
yeah,
got
that's
that
great.
stuff.
I had an e-meter and I needed those books.
Don't smirk. I'm serious. No, I was kidding.
they're small. They're like real thin, like
No, like, and I want to look at how they train.
bag. And
That's smart that you got those.
do
They're gonna
what?
come after you for having those. I had an e-meter and I like got emails. They're like, I know you have the Mach 7. I'm wondering how can I get? Would you be willing to sell it? I was like, actually, yes. I don't have the manual and I don't know how to use it. I think it's working. Maybe I'm clear.
It can shock
Anyway.
you. It can electric.
No. I was worried. I was worried about that because I didn't know. This is like early on, way too early to be buying an e-meter because I was like, LRH research to seize.
See,
He's
that's
not.
weird, like, for
he
me,
can't be Scientology.
If
He was onto
Scientologists
something.
like sought me out and tried to find out that I had an e-meter and tried to
Oh,
get it back from me, like I
beatboxing.
definitely wouldn't have just like gone with the
They
flow.
say
So maybe you did the right thing
beatboxing.
because they probably were like, "Oh, she's just a nice lady. We'll leave her alone."
I did sell it. I got my money back. But now that she
Yeah,
has
but
those
like,
books, I
what-
really
who would-
want it
Who would sell an e-meter? Like, wouldn't you want that forever? Unless you left the church and you hated it. now.
because it was an impulse buy. For sure. My friend's like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, just hold them.
I'm gonna get one. Guys,
But
send your money. Guys and gals,
I
send your
knocked
money
all
and
my
everything in
stuff
between.
over. That's
Send your money to
nuts.
us, and we'll buy an e-meter.
Because that joke, I totally missed the joke. But I have a joke too. I want to show off. I want to show the most inappropriate thing. What's here? My shirt. Look it. Everybody get.
Oh wait, yeah, Soloit. Good point.
Isn't
That
that
banana is
inappropriate?
not wearing his clothes.
So we were talking about.
Ooh, that's risque.
Yes, risque, right? But we were talking about
That
the
can get you
Anarchist
thrown off
Cookbook,
of
and the Anarchist
Facebook.
Cookbook has Anarchist Cookbook
bananas.
has the bananas and getting high off bananas. But this looks like a high banana instead of like. And he's like, woo, right?
It reminds me of our, Andreas's Johnny Bravo meme with the.
Oh, maybe too soon. Maybe I should have waited to wear it.
They just, it just, that's what I had some post traumatic stress just now too. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
because he's
30
covering
days.
up his privates, right? But I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that bananas have private parts, but
I will, I
Yeah,
will
just
do the,
private part.
this one did. That one does.
they're seedless.
Dude,
All
I
right.
want to beatbox now, man.
If you guys aren't in advanced, I'm sorry,
Mm.
Andreas philosophy memes. If you're in APM,
What if I practice and I come back next week and I can beatbox and I can learn? Sorry.
Andre
Okay.
philosophy.
Sorry, are you doing that? Are you doing the closing?
I made it safe for a while. I might turn it back to advanced philosophy means, but I made it Andreas for a while just to make the point that I was like, my name's on this, so don't do any more terrible stuff on the group.
All right.
But now the group is even more interesting. See, because now they're working on it all day. You know, they're building the event. See, yeah.
So you
All right.
can show a penis of a statue, but you can't show Johnny Bravo. Oh, that almost
Please
looks
say
like
cock.
That
instead of
was
penis.
during the election. You
Just
got to
kidding.
remember. So during the election season, you know, they want to make sure that certain already identified actors are suppressed, and it's interesting because it's like a weather alert. You're like, oh, Andreas has been taken down for 30 days. Means a bunch of cool things are about to happen. But it's not just me. There's a lot of people like me, that are kind of suppressed that way. And
That was like January 6th too. You got taken down. Right
January
around that
6th. I
time.
was taken down. And they said we're not taking you back up until after the White House thing is situated and sorted. And I was like, that's pretty freaking telling that Facebook is saying that we're just going to extend randomly.
And you also got taken down for posting things that are now culturally and socially acceptable, thanks to Yay.
Right. Made by Jim Bob was on the show recently, and he's in APM now. So APM is getting pretty cool. I don't know. For a Facebook group, we're pretty allowed. We're pretty allowed to exist, except for during election season. That's when they seem to suppress the group.
Okay,
Oh, and this is the card, the D Plum card.
Coming out.
Which
There.
is-
He's coming
back.
back. We need to have a parade for her in there of like. she's
D
back.
will post a meme, can't be blocked. Philosophy doesn't matter when everyone's a simp. Legendary creature mistress.
It's a bad wolf.
6.
a
One.
simp is any guy who is nice to you. Just
See, yeah, simp is an interesting term because like simp and based and thing like basic guys are based because not always, but if you're based, it means you well founded. You got your ducks in a row. You know what I mean? And a simp, it seems like you have simple pleasures. If you have simple pleasures in life, you're like, I think a woman is beautiful. I can look at a picture of her.
But I just learned that now anybody that watches porn is called a cuck. So
yeah, because technically pornography is different than looking at nude pictures that a girl sends you. Because like if you have someone who's been put through stress, like Connie said, and has been traumatized and is victimized, and
it was
making
honestly
pornography into a
different.
I mean, Owen Benjamin's
He
very
made
right
me
on when he
think
says that pornography is
differently.
the subjugation of a people by the traumatization of the men by watching their women raped.
But
in front
I
of them.
didn't. That's the thing, though. I didn't. I never thought about pornography in childhood, like trauma or any of that, or crossing over to from acting to pornography. Where is that line, and what gets one to cross it? And so Kanye was saying that it is acts of pedophilia, and I wanted to get the data on that. So I did. I looked into it a little bit, and there's some, but I don't know if it's true for like all. Is what he was
Who's
trying
that
to
kid
say.
from
Because there's people that
Minnesota?
probably like sex that are okay morally with being porn stars that weren't traumatized as a child. I wanted to see the data.
Let's
but
talk about
maybe
Bucky Larson,
wrong, and
Born to
there
Be a
is
Star. Have you seen Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star?
trauma.
Have you seen Bucky Larson, Born
I
to Be
have
a
to
Star?
interview porn stars.
no, but I want to now.
That's what we're
Brittany.
gonna do our documentary on.
Hello?
That's it. Okay,
you
sorry,
hear me?
I remembered now.
Can you hear me? Cool.
Yeah, I can hear
Have you
you.
seen Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star?
Yes, I have.
You have seen this movie?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So is this not the answer to what you're saying?
Was he traumatized?
I thought you said you saw this movie.
Yeah, I blacked this one out. I
So
don't know.
Bucky Larson,
It
Born to
wasn't
Be a
that
Star, is about a guy
interesting.
from Minnesota, I think, who goes to
Probably.
California
Is it
in order
Nick
to be a porn
Swartzman?
star like his parents before him. Because his parents were big porn stars in the 60s and 70s.
I remember that.
And what they did was the parents recorded nudie movies by themselves together, and then they sold them back in the old days
Yep.
before the videotape scene
and he
happened.
sees him on a VHS or something.
And so then he's like, whoa, the porn industry since cassette tapes has been crazy. What happened? Because my parents did porn in the 70s. They used to just film each other together, and then that was fine. And now there's this whole industry around cassette tapes, and it's all run by,
But was he molested?
Lolita Charlie Chaplin. No, he's fine.
Yeah.
And he's like in LA,
Okay.
and he's like, I just want to make
So
a porno.
Kanye's wrong. There you go.
I mean,
No, that's
who's
true.
to say? Because
I'm just saying.
then you're
Kanye
getting
and
into
Owen were trying to say you.
then you're getting
you
into
had to
Aleister
have
Crowley.
childhood
Is
trauma.
Aleister Crowley wrong? Because Aleister Crowley was saying, hey, look, people during the plague used to sleep in 30 people's houses together, and they all
I'm
saw
saying,
each other have sex.
Did they film it and share it with each other?
No, they
That's-
just lived together.
This is what
and they saw
Kanye
their
is
sisters
saying.
get pregnant.
That doesn't even matter. Kanye's saying that if you go into the porn industry, it's a fact that these people, the majority, if not all, I think he said all, have had a childhood trauma. So I want to do a documentary, and I want to talk to every porn star.
Who hasn't had a childhood trauma?
A childhood pedophile, like it was a sexual trauma.
Sexual trauma.
Because I don't know enough porn stars, but I want to talk to them and find out, because do most of them have a childhood trauma, or is it a choice that these people have felt? So
Childhood trauma could also be like shaming your kids for sexual.
who's saying acts of pedophilia lead to acts of pedophilia? He had a very grandiose statement about it. It was just like, people that are porn stars have been victims of pedophiles.
Well, I'll read this paper,
Pedophilia.
Pornography Actresses and Assessment of Damaged Goods Hypothesis.
A lot of serial killers, their mothers suppressed or made them, repressed sexually.
Oh yeah, or not allowed to emote or anything. Like, right. Yep. Oh yeah. So they're like psychopaths. They can't empathize and whatnot. That's
right.
Interesting.
Where's the media?
Rearing. I didn't know. I had never considered that. I had never thought of porno to be associated with pedophilia or childhood trauma. I thought it was people always just making a choice. And so Kanye and Owen Benjamin are coming out saying these people are pretty much all victims of trauma to do this. And I had never considered that. But I myself am thinking, I might have been an actor. I might have done this or that. I know I would never have
it's done by a certain age. Like if it's
film.
done by the time, if the sexual trauma occurs by the age of 6, it compartmentalizes the mind.
Right.
And that's
and
why
sexuality.
Like we're really into studying that of.
Right. If you traumatize someone as a child, they'll put that into a place where they can process it later. They might never process, and then you can build a personality around that place.
Yeah, that's how you get the multiple
I highly recommend the book by Sheila Jeffries, The Industrial Vagina, which talks about the political economy of the global sex trade. And there are some inferences that you can make from sex versus violence in media, obviously, that are very confusing from a young age, which kind of dictate to females what they're supposed to expect out of a sexual relationship, which isn't highly regarding positive reciprocity. It's a lot of times like, wow, I'm he's using me and that's great, I'm getting to be used, or something that's trained in a lot of people in media
from media or from pornography,
just from media in general, right? Like,
and film.
But then beyond that, like what it is like there's a lot of homosexual men that run advertisements that know the way to sell to men is women, and so they're exploiting women as the advertisement for selling the car and the product. So you go to like a mining convention or a car store in China, and there's just beautiful women that are paid to stand in front of tractors and things like that, right? So sexuality is a major player in the way the economy works, and so because of that, they have to constantly traumatize people. And this is why
you think it's traumatizing to stand by a tractor and be beautiful.
No, to get to the point that's not so traumatizing. Okay, so when you start, because you have to imagine, to be a model, even you have to stand in front of someone changing your clothes 1,000 times in 10 hours for $1,000 or something, and so you're naked in front of people, and like that's already kind of demoralizing. But to get to that point,
I don't think that. I think for some people that's not. If you were raised in a family where it's okay to be naked and flying around, it's okay. But if you were raised in a family where it's like cover up and whatever, then it's
you can talk to some models. A lot of the time, being a model is demoralizing. It's not, like if you've known.
I'm not going to argue that it's not
like elite models or Ford models. It's not always a fun thing.
Okay.
And you show up at a place on time and you're the right height, or else, and it's so you're there
Adam
for your body
bring that
as
up.
long
Hit
as
a
you're
second
alive.
pacifier.
Yeah.
Things like that.
No, but even just like it's just dehumanizing, to be a model a lot of the time. And then as a child, you're taught, this is the thing that's valuable about you is you're cute. And you've got these Epstein connections to all of these, because it's like, hey, how cheap can you make a person's life? They're viable. And people just really get off on how much it costs.
But you could
to buy
also
somebody.
tell them that they're more than cute. I mean,
true.
Probably,
I'm just telling you how the
there's
system
people that
seems
turn
to
out okay.
perpetuate the industrial vagina, as Sheila Jeffries called it, who is a cool third wave feminist.
Interesting.
I'd say. Well, dang, we're like 2 hours deep into my bickering rant about feminism, but I think it's important. I would really continue to recommend this book.
I haven't read it, but now I'm going to see what I think about it.
Vel, is there anything that you guys want to make sure we cover before I start to introduce where they can get some of your content on the way out?
I want to say one thing. So if anybody's watching the show, anybody at all, and they have anything you'd like us to talk about, because I didn't think we were going to talk about Anarchy at all tonight, because sometimes Andreas title shows and then we don't really talk about the title.
Just messing with you.
So yeah, I would. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of us were ready to talk about Anarchy. I know. I'm gonna get together with Juju. Did I say that? That's her name, Juju. It's like when you calm down and talk about energy and remote viewing and stuff. And I'm going to get together with Dee and Julia and probably talk about other stuff on the Recent Tartarians channel. But if people that are watching have anything they want to ask us, hopefully, we want to do call-ins because I think we could handle questions from people and, give some good answers and feedback. We've gone through some shite ourselves. Most of us in this group.
We got a super chat question from Sandwich. $10. Thank you. Andreas, what is your opinion? And I'm going to go ahead and extend that to the ladies and ladies as well. On the new $20 bill concept with Harriet Tubman, I personally don't have a problem with it. The U.S. has a long history of trading black people for other goods. Well, that was kind of funny.
Then. Didn't.
Do you have any thoughts on the Harriet Tubman?
I mean, it's political, so no, I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be Rosa Parks, I guess. I don't know if I care.
I'd rather it be like you or Julia if you want to put somebody cool on the dollar or D.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a woman of color.
Oh, woman! It has to be a woman of color.
Yeah, that's why they were going.
How you could identify? I'm
just saying, there's so many like really.
Andreas, I thought you identified as a woman of color.
I would like to see Calafia on the. 20.
For the record, Andreas could identify as a woman of color and be on the dollar,
Calafia
identifying as a woman of color.
Harriet Tubman's not as amazing as all the stories are, but I don't think that's. Yeah, it's also just like she's aesthetically not pleasing on the 20. We'll say that. I think you could get with a lot of better choices. Sacagawea on the dollar didn't bother me that much. I think it was still not Disney enough. I think they should just do it. You go with a Disney Pocahontas picture on the money and just make it all a cartoon. But
so that's what they're doing. They're trying to come up with.
But I know a lot of people that don't use 20s on purpose. Like I have a lot of friends who are natives and a lot of native friends who have avoided Andrew Jackson's face. You know, they used a 50 or use a 10 and they don't use 20s and they've never used 20s. And I think it's kind of interesting.
I think they should put Anne Heche on the $20 bill.
Sorry, D, what you say?
Did you see the meme where they put Epstein's face on Jackson's face?
Yeah, Epstein Jackson. You know, cloning is pretty weird. And looking at Sam Bankman-Fried, I made a joke the other day because like he invested in the cloning lab that Epstein invested in, which is the Raelian cloning lab, which has the symbol that Kanye got banned from Twitter for, which is also in part of a moon ET cult that is from South Africa that Elon Musk is interested in. And I was like, okay, there's a lot.
Sorry.
APEC?
No, the name of that. The name of the people that has the
Clonade.
But there's another name.
The Raelians.
No, like the company that used it. That's not it.
I think you can't
get APEC. It's like from APEC. It was connected to our government and stuff.
I don't know about like I'm not sure. I know you can get clones in, you know, for instance, people have been getting pets cloned, and that's covering for human cloning that's going on in the Caribbean. There is a lot of human cloning going on, and then the natural rights of clones, because they're technically not clones if you're born in vitro. If you're born in vitro from a human natural birth, then all of a sudden you have natural rights. So there's a lot of that going on.
The reason I asked, though, I came across my documents when I was looking at some of the stuff for Julia, and it's the same company that had the Schwarze sign that does the first round of refusals for vaccine damages. And I have the training manuals of how you're supposed to refute people that come in with it's the same exact corporation. So I was just wondering how they're connected. So anyway, something to look into in the future.
Right.
And anyway, before that super chat came in, if you want us to ask anything, go to the Discord and give topics for us to discuss.
Right.
We don't have to talk about anarchy.
You can ask us anything.
Yes.
Go to the Tartary
We don't care about PC.
and click on the Tartary Discord link at the top.
Don't have to be PC with me. You can call me a cat, a bat. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Very well. All right. So you got the Tartary Discord link. Is there any links that you want me to share, Julie or D?
No, I'm good.
Are you going to start memeing again there, D? Are you back? I haven't. Maybe soon.
Good.
Then we'll feature some of those, and then yeah.
Well, this video will be posted in the APM, so I'm pretty sure there'll be people waiting and missing. So
yes,
looking forward to that.
And we'll chat again soon, and we'll have late night again soon with the K.
Yeah, ladies' night. I like the idea.
And the armor. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And that beatbox was great. We can always get beatbox. Thank you for having us, Andreas. It was awesome
Yes,
to
thank
have
you.
ladies on your
They
show.
removed all the women from the Bible, and it's time to give the women more
Ooh,
voices.
we need to get
right.
Ellen
Bring
here.
them
My friend
back.
Ellen.
That's also so. What I'd
Yeah,
like
we'll get
is
Ellen.
what we'll do is if
Ladies.
anybody, if you guys, if you
Ladies.
girls, if you ladies have any ideas over the week of things that you want to cover, you can do a slideshow or you can just talk about a thing,
Cover
and then we can
McKenna.
have like moments where we go to the subject. We can all discuss, the subjects that you guys have and have questions and answers for that. I think that'd be cool.
Word.
Legit. All right. Peace out.
Later.
The following video contains content some viewers might find disturbing. The views and opinions expressed here are not facts and are nothing more than entertainment. The views and opinions are not facts and do not represent the views and opinions of Xirtus or our channel, and do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of the guests, YouTube, Google, mainstream media, society, or civilization at large, or anybody. Viewer discretion is advised.